Thank you for tuning into the GSMC Basketball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network, and we are in the third segment. So once again, I mentioned earlier that there is going to be a fourth segment, so stay tuned for that to figure out exactly what that is. But for the meantime, in this third segment, I'm going to be talking about some of the games that recently happened last night on February 13th. So a lot of games happened, and with a lot of big teams and a lot of big names that went down. So I'm just going to give a little recap of some of the big games that happened. So let's talk about the team that's been so far rolling recently, the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, Golden State and the Lakers, they've been playing a lot better recently in a lot of these games, and they've gotten much needed wins to secure a spot in the play-in. Right now, they are both hold the 9th and the 10th seed, and are steadily looking like it's going to be another. It's steadily looking like it's going to be another LeBron and Steph Curry rematch in the Western Conference once again. So, very excited for that. Very excited for LeBron to beat Steph Curry again. But I digress. Let's look at the box scores on this game. So, all of the Lakers, they ended the game in double figures, all the starters. So that is a great work for the Lakers and their starting lineup. The rotations are looking a lot better recently. I know this is the Detroit Pistons, and the Pistons are not a great team, but still, this is a win that the Lakers needed. They are 29-26 now, so finally 3 games above 500. Very important if you're the Lakers. And Spencer Dinwiddie did not show up in this game, even though they just recently acquired him in the signings. He was speculated to be a very good asset. He only had 6 points, 2 of 6 from the field. Like I said before, the main stars for this game were the starting lineup. Austin Reeves ended the game with 15 points. D'Angelo Russell had 21 points. LeBron James led all the starters in scoring, no surprises, 25 points and 8 assists. Roy Hachimura, who's been phenomenal in the starting lineup and in the starting rotation, has 15 points. And Anthony Davis ended the game with 20 points and 14 rebounds. So, great win if you are the Lakers. A much-needed win. Not much really to say about the Pistons. I mean, the Pistons, they've been notoriously bad. They've gotten worse since trading away a lot of their players because they're on rebuilding mode. So with that in mind, the Detroit Pistons, they're not doing anything with this regular season. They're going to try to build through the draft, which eventually, we'll see what they can do with those draft picks. Let's see if they can hit on those draft picks. They probably won't because they are the Pistons, but then again, you can always get lucky. So not really much to say about that game, given how, the Lakers, they were by far the better team. And I would be saying a lot more if they would have lost this game, but they ended up winning in a blowout. So not really much to talk about with that game whatsoever. And I have a lot to talk about this game, however. The Boston Celtics, they beat the Brooklyn Nets yet again, this time in the regular season. They won by 8 points. The final score was 118-110. The Nets, they put up a fight. The Nets did put up a fight, but we had no argument for Jason Tatum in this game whatsoever. Jason Tatum ended the game with 41 points and 14 rebounds. And he shot 12 of 26, but he was absolutely phenomenal in this game. And we had no answer for him whatsoever. All the starters also ended in double figures for the Boston Celtics, so that is very good for them. Derek White ended with 16 points. Jaylen Brown, 19 points. Al Horford, 16 points. Drew Holiday, 14 points. And 12 assists as well, coming in from Drew Holiday. There was no Porzingis in this game, and they were still able to win. So, really shows how much better their center rotation is now after acquiring a center in a trade, Sam Hauser in the trade as well, and they've been able to. They are the team to beat. They are the team to beat in the Eastern Conference, and it's very difficult to beat them, especially when Jason Tatum has a night like this. But regardless of that, we still put up a little bit of a fight. Mikal Bridges, excuse me. Ugh. Mikal Bridges ended the game with 27 points. Cam Thomas ended the game with 26 points. Nick Claxton ended the game with 10 points and 8 rebounds. And Lonnie Walker ended the game with 15 points. So Mikal Bridges and Cam Thomas, they both shot 50% from the field. So not really much more that you could ask of them. I mean, they were both the leading scorers on this team, on a very bad Brooklyn Nets team. I mean, I guess an option is play better defense because, like, we are notoriously, like, bad on defense, especially with this year. And, like, we just allowed Jason Tatum to have 41 points in this game. Like, that's something that we cannot afford to do, especially if we're trying to make some noise and try to salvage this regular season. I mean, the Nets, I don't think they're going to be anything more than just like a play-in team and a mediocre play-in team at best. I don't think there's going to be much that they can do to salvage this season. They play Boston at Boston, so we couldn't. The Nets couldn't beat them at home, so I doubt they're going to beat them again later tonight at 7:30. So that's one of the games to be mindful of to watch later tonight. But again, I don't think they are going to be able to stop the Celtics at home whatsoever. The Celtics are difficult to beat this year. And, I mean, they're always difficult to beat in the regular season, but this year especially, they're much more difficult to beat. Just looking at these box scores and just how they've shot efficiently as a team, it's just like there's nothing much you can really do. Now, the Bucks are back to losing yet again. They lost to the Miami Heat, which seems to be this team's kryptonite, I will say. They played the Miami Heat in the bubble as the number 1 seed, lost to the Miami Heat. They then played them again the next year in 2021, and they swept the Miami Heat. And then they played them again in the first round, and then they lost to the Miami Heat again while Miami was an 8th seed and while the Bucks were the 1st seed again. So the Bucks really they don't really have a good track record when going against the Miami Heat. And just looking at these box scores, a lot of players had a pretty good game. There was no Jimmy Butler. They beat the Bucks without Jimmy Butler. Wow. Okay. Bam Adebayo ended with a triple-double, 16 points, 11 assists, 12 rebounds. Nikola Jovic, again, my bad if I messed up that name. Not Jokic, Jovic, ended the game with 24 points. Tyler Hero ended the game with 19 points. Duncan Robinson ended the game with 23 points as well. And we have Kevin Love making an appearance coming off the bench, scoring 19 points, and Jamie Jaquez Jr. scoring 12 points. And they shot, as a team, the Heat shot 51% from the field. Very good if you were the Heat. Very bad if you were the Bucks. Horrible defense. They cannot be shooting 51% from the field when you have such good perimeter defenders. It's unacceptable. Need to put a lot more effort out there on the defensive end. Giannis Antetokounmpo, again, was the only bright spot for this Milwaukee Bucks team. He had 23 points and 11 rebounds and 8 assists. Now, again, he needs the help, and Damian Lillard is not giving it to him. Only scoring 16 points as the number 2 option is unacceptable. And not providing any defense either, unacceptable. Let me see what his field goal was. He shot 5 of 14 from the field. That is not okay for the Bucks. They need Damian Lillard in his scoring. They also need Giannis. He's been providing on the scoring end, but it's just he needs the help. And Malik Beasley, 3-point contest participant, 6 for 10 from the field, 4 of 8 from 3, 16 points. Matched Damian Lillard in points. Obviously, there's a lot that Damian Lillard needs to improve on with this team. And the defense on this team also needs to improve, like, dramatically. They can't have the final score, them having 97 points and the other team having 123 points. That is not ideal. And Miami came out scoring in this game. Through the first quarter, Miami led 40-28. And once they had that lead, they were never giving it up. So that was some really bad defense to open out the game. Like, they can't continue that defense throughout the game if they're going to have such bad defense. Like, that's what adjustments are needed to be made. And Doc didn't make those adjustments or enough adjustments that he needed to in order to win this game. Now, again, I'm being a little bit more difficult on Doc than a lot of these players. Then I really should be a little more difficult on Dame, given how he's been shooting the ball recently in a lot of these games. Like, just looking at the box scores down here, he's been really, really inefficient in a lot of these games, and that's something that the Bucks cannot afford coming from Damian Lillard, since they got him for his offense. They let Drew Holiday walk so that way they could get Damian Lillard for the offense that he provides. If he's not providing the offense, what good is he there for? And that's a big problem coming in from the Bucks if they can't figure it out with Damian Lillard. Now, in other news, the Sacramento Kings, looking at the box scores right here, they matched up against the Phoenix Suns, and the Phoenix Suns ended up winning 130-125. Really high scoring game. De'Aaron Fox ended the game with 40 points. Domantas Sabonis ended the game with a 35-point triple-double. 35 points, 18 rebounds, and 12 assists from Sabonis. But unfortunately, this performance wasn't enough to beat the Suns and their big three with Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant. We all know this. Bradley Beal played only 5 minutes in this game, so he might have succumbed to an injury. I'm not entirely sure what that was. Don't have the entirety of this game. I didn't watch this game because I was focused on the Lakers game. I was also focused on the Nets game, so didn't really get to watch the entirety of this game. So Bradley Beal only playing 5 minutes, but it was still enough for the Phoenix Suns to be able to pull through in the end. They were able to rely on Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. Devin Booker had 25 points, 9 assists. Kevin Durant ended the game with 28 points and 11 rebounds. So overall, very strong performance. Eric Gordon showed up coming off the bench with 23 points. So great performance for the Phoenix Suns offensively. And nothing really much to say about the offense because we all know how good Phoenix is on the offensive side of the ball. Obviously, their main problem is their defense, in my personal opinion. Domantas Sabonis getting a triple-double in this game and having De'Aaron Fox score 40 in this game as well. Like, they were lucky that their offense was rolling tonight and they were able to score 5 more points, because allowing somebody to drop 40 and allowing his teammate to score 35 and get a triple-double is unacceptable on the defensive side of the ball. And those types of big performances from players could happen any given night with how bad those defenses are. Again, I say this with the Pacers, and I can say this with Phoenix. They need something to fall back on just in case their offense isn't there to produce. Granted, unlike the Pacers, the Phoenix Suns have a lot more pieces on the offense to be able to produce consistently. So when one player isn't performing, the other guy from the bench can perform. Between either Eric Gordon or even Grayson Allen can perform. Devin Booker can perform. Bradley Beal can perform. A lot of these players, they can have a good game when one of their main players isn't having the best game. So with that in mind, that's sort of like the difference maker between Phoenix and the Pacers. But still, their defense is very lackluster. And it can't be that bad. It shouldn't be that bad going into the postseason. They cannot afford for it to be that bad. And now for the Kings, losing this game is also unacceptable, because now they're sort of dropping in the standings when they were the 5th seed at one point. They're right now the 8th seed in the Western Conference, and they could be looking to play in the play-in. Now, assuming that the teams don't change and they don't end up going farther down, they could face the Golden State Warriors in the play-in. And last time they matched up against Golden State ended up whooping them in 7 games. well, not really whooping them, I guess, since the series went to 7 games. But in Game 7, when they were at home, Stephen Curry had like 50 points. So if I were a Kings fan, I would not want to go up against Steph Curry again whatsoever. Similar to how I'm a Nets fan, and I do not want to go up against Giannis whatsoever. So with that in mind, they have to hurry and maintain a very high seed in the Western Conference if they want to make a deep playoff run. In another game that went down, the last game actually that went down, was Minnesota going against Portland. Minnesota beat the Portland Trailblazers 121-109. Not really much to say. I mean, we should have expected this from Minnesota because Minnesota is a contending team at the moment, and the Portland Trailblazers aren't a contending team at the moment. They're one of the worst teams in the Western Conference, and with that in mind, they're going to be playing for the draft, as well as to try to develop some of their young guards and some of their young players that they have on the roster right now. So just looking at the box scores of this game, Anthony Edwards ended the game with 41 points. Big game from him. He shot 16 for 27, 4 of 8 from 3. Very efficient. Rudy Gobert ended the game with 16 points and 15 rebounds. Again, very efficient from him. Karl Anthony Towns only played 9 minutes, but he made them count, getting 13 points. But overall, it was Anthony Edwards just being the baller that he is. I mean, he is arguably one of the best two-way players in the league right now. That's a very underlooked aspect of Anthony Edwards' game. His defense, it's fantastic at the guard position. And on for Portland's side, Anfernee Simons, one of their young guys, one of their great young guys, 20 points this game. DeAndre Ayton, 22 points and 16 rebounds. Very impressive. But obviously wasn't enough to answer to the Timberwolves and the Timberwolves' defense and their much better offense. So nothing really much to say about this here because, I mean, this is expected from the Timberwolves. They should win these easy games. And the Portland Trailblazers, they're obviously going to be losing a lot of these games. Not really much to say about this game. It was really boring given how it was a blowout. I mean, not much to really say. Anthony Edwards had a great game, so that was the only good thing about this game. And the game wasn't really close throughout most of the game. It was not close. But with that, we are out of time for the recap. So tune into the 4th segment where I go ahead and I talk about Shaquille O'Neal getting his jersey retired for the Orlando Magic. And I'll talk about the Orlando Magic game that recently happened for his jersey retirement. So I will be right back after this short break.